Holiness. It's a word that Judaism tends to throw around a lot. Most of us have a pretty good idea what kinds of things are holy. Of course, God is holy. Torah is holy, along with other sacred texts. We have ritual objects that we consider holy, like a mezuzah or a shofar. And we also have places that are holy, like a synagogue, a kotel, what many of us know as the Wailing Wall, or the whole city of Jerusalem for that matter. It's actually a topic we've covered on this channel before, where we learned that holiness really can be anything that is special or dear to us. It could be something expensive and glamorous, like a piece of heirloom jewelry, or it could be something simpler, like a picture of a loved one that we treasure, or a song that carries special meaning for us. What about people, though? Can a person be holy? Of course. Traditions around the world have holy men and women. Some are holy because their tradition teaches that they speak on behalf of God. Some are holy for their great wisdom and attunement to the harmony of the universe. But in Judaism, we tend not to label individuals as being either a holy man or woman, even when it comes to great rabbis. And it's not because we don't believe they're holy, and there isn't even anything wrong with calling them holy either. The reason we don't do it is because in Judaism, we are all holy. In this week's double parsha, Acharei Kedoshim, the section for Kedoshim begins with the words, Vayidaber Adonai el Moshe lemor, daber el kol adat b'nei Yisrael v'amarta aleihem, Kedoshim tihiyu ki kadosh ani. And God spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the entire assembled people of Israel and say to them, You shall be holy, for I am holy. So you see, it's a bit weird in Judaism to single out one particular person as an example of someone who is holy, because we are all supposed to be holy. But, says the Torah, holiness works a bit differently with people than in anything else. As with objects, we are holy because we are precious and significant to the people in our lives. But there is a second dimension to holiness within people, because we also have the opportunity and the obligation to make ourselves precious and significant, not only to others, but to ourselves. How do we do that? A huge chunk of the Torah that we are reading this week is dedicated to what scholars refer to as the Holiness Code, a long list of rules and regulations on how we must conduct ourselves both ritually and morally. Between laws that teach us not to spread gossip or to take unfair advantage of others, we also have laws that get up close and personal as they teach us about intimacy, while others simply tell us to avoid buying into meaningless superstitious beliefs. In the end, the Holiness Code can be rolled up into one word: respect. Respect for ourselves and for others. It's showing respect that gives us our holiness. As I prepare this message, Ontario remains in lockdown due to the recent surge in COVID cases. For many of us, this latest lockdown barely feels any different than what we have endured over the past year. Still, the weather is getting warmer, and despite the slow vaccine rollout, we know that better days are just ahead, so long as we sit tight. And yet, for many of us, this doesn't bring us much comfort. In fact, there is a higher tendency for many of us to simply feel a bit numb to all of the drama at this point. A New York Times article from this week suggests that the word for what we are experiencing now is languishing. It's not depression. Surprisingly, it's not even anxiety anymore, which used to be a big one for a lot of us. Rather, it's a feeling of a lack of motivation, difficulty focusing, and just a big, gigantic collective feeling of meh. The soul within each of us that connects us all to each other and to God means that we are all forever spared from being meaningless. Nobody is meaningless. And therefore, we can't ever really lose our holiness. But we can lose our meaning. In fact, it's easy to lose our joie de vivre when we're stuck inside all day, every day. It's easy to fall into a rut where we lose respect for ourselves and lose sight of the main goal of being human, which is to bring beauty, knowledge, and healing to the world, which is, in turn, filling us with meaning and holiness. It's easy to give up on ourselves when there's nobody around to keep us accountable. So God says, "You will be holy because I am holy." Not necessarily because others are holding us to a standard, but because God is holding us to a standard. We can't languish because God doesn't languish. Holiness is a job that God has charged us to do at all times, whether we feel like it or not. You've got to keep doing your job, God says, because I'm staying committed to my job. We all must keep filling the world with holiness. That was the deal, no matter what. That's why, God says, we're in this together. This has been a Beth Radham video to our Torah. I'm Cantor Jeremy. Have a Shabbat Shalom.